Tube, what's going on? How you guys feeling? Breathing a little better now that the Woj tweet came out, said the playoffs are back on again? A little scary times there for about 48 hours. Uh, I thought about hopping on last night and throwing something up, but I just felt like it was better to wait and see what shook out from everything with the protests and stuff. Um, yeah, it was scary times there for a minute. There's a lot of discussion about how far things would fall and buying opportunities and all sorts of stuff, all sorts of fun stuff in the old sports card market. Hope I still sound good. I got the new mic is hooked up. I have changed the setup for it. So hopefully I'm coming through loud and clear. I'll find out in post, I guess. So maybe you guys won't even hear it if I'm not. But I got it mounted up on an arm and everything now to get it off the desk. So pop filter, the whole kit and caboodle. Putting some work in here. Um, so I wanted to hop on today and just do a little bit of a chat about the stuff from the last 24 hours, and just some general trends. Like I said, I was gonna make this video yesterday, and then the NBA world went crazy, so I wanted to hold off on it. Um, Prior to yesterday, postponements, there's been a bit of I don't want to say like a market pullback uh, across the board, on all sports. Some key cards are trending down is a strong word, but they've lost a little bit. And some of it's for players that aren't really having anything going on or that are actually moving on to the next round of the NBA or whose sports are gearing up to prep. So we're going to go through a few of those. Um, I don't really necessarily know what's causing it, if there's anything to be alarmed about here. I'm not going to say like the sky's falling or anything crazy like that. But there does seem to be a slight downshift in the market. Not much, and it's not across the board. There's plenty of guys still going up. But there's just some intriguing people going down. So we'll talk about them and maybe we can come to something together on why we all think that this is happening. Because I'm not really 100% sure. I'm just looking at the data and, you know, making my best guess just like we all are. So before we get into that, let's talk about the last 24 hours a little bit. Obviously the NBA is coming back to play. That is good news. This should have been a nice reality check for you on where you are in the hobby and investing, collecting, whatever you want to call it. If your immediate thought process was, man, if this gets canceled tomorrow, I'm in big trouble because of whatever money owed on credit cards that you leveraged, any of that sort of stuff, then you need to change the approach that you're doing. If your take yesterday was, okay, all right, if this happens, I'm gonna take this basketball stuff, I'm gonna, pick out a few things I think I need to sell now and sell them on the downward trend, and offload them because I don't want to have the money tied up into them. And then the rest of this stuff, whatever that stuff might be, I'm gonna put in a box and set it over here, and we'll see you in 6 months. That should have been your mindset yesterday. And if you were in that place, then that is good. Or if your mindset was, cool, stuff's about to get way cheaper because if it gets canceled, there's going to be a massive sell off and a race to the bottom. Let me get this PayPal account ready to spend, and get some good deals. That also means that you're in a good position. But if you were in column A, where you were legit panicking because you didn't know what was going to happen if your card suddenly lost to 30 to 40% off the top, then you need to fix that situation as soon as possible, whatever that might take. Sell some of your stuff off to get even again. My take yesterday was a combination of the two, which is where I think most people should be if you're doing this correctly. Is okay, I'm going to take this key basketball stuff, I'm going to set it to the side. I'll see you in a few months. Here's a small pile of stuff that I want to move immediately that I don't want to have money tied up in. And now I'm going to start hunting for deals on key players that maybe I couldn't afford before that I know are going to bounce back, like Luca or Tatum or whatever, whatever player it is that you're into. Um, but just be aware, this should have been like a splash of cold water if you fall into that first category of crap. What am I going to do? I needed to flip X, Y, or Z to pay off something else. And now that card's going to be worth 30% less. So I got to figure out how to make up that difference. I am to the point, and I would hope everyone is to the point. Maybe you're not. I don't know everyone's situation. Everyone's different. That for me personally, I only spend card money on cards. Now, it wasn't always that way. But the last 3 months, I would say I have transitioned more so the last 60 days into only card money for cards. I'm not dipping into the savings or the checking or the 401k or the credit card or whatever. I sell to buy now. I am at that point. And you can't get there, can't start there. You got to get there eventually. You make solid choices and you keep upgrading. There's different paths to get there, whether it's flipping retail or, buying low dollar singles, grading them and getting PSA 10s and selling them. Whatever your method was is fine. But that's where I'm at. Now, everyone's financial situation is different. Maybe you're work for a Fortune 500 company, and you got, some baller job and you could drop 10,000 a month on cards. And that's just like going out to dinner or something for you. Cool. That's not me. And I don't think that's most people. I think most people are in this. And I think the plan should be is you use card money to buy more cards. That way you're not, if things go belly up, you're not really hurting your personal situation long term. So use what happened the last 24 hours as a wake up call that if you are not in that position, you need to work your way to get to a position where if this all falls apart, you are not screwed. Because it could all fall apart. Just because they're back tomorrow does not mean that there's a shooting next week or who knows what happens next. It's 2020. There's double hurricanes and elections and all sorts of shenanigans going on this year. So I don't even want to speculate on we've had murder hornets. Like, what the hell? So to even sit here and pretend like we know what's going to happen next would be a joke for me to say that. But you need to be prepared that this thing goes belly up. That being said, now that they're back, I am going to look to not aggressively, but I'm going to look to move off of things that are playoff specific a little more aggressively right now. For example, the biggest one for me, and I've mentioned this a few videos ago, is LeBron in Lakers stuff. Whether that's Prism, Optic, whatever you're sitting on expecting a championship, I would start to average down on that stuff. I don't know if that's the right term, but it sounds good, so we're going to roll with it. I talked about this in the Prism LeBron video or something. I've talked about this before, but if you're sitting on 50 LeBron-centric Lakers cards, I personally believe most of their value is tied up in the fact that the market is predicting a championship for the Lakers. If that does not happen, because either A, they lose prior to the finals, or B, the finals doesn't happen because of either the pandemic or some type of social injustice movements between now and October, because that's when the finals are. I think it's October. We got a long way to go, folks. I would look to start moving off that sort of stuff. Same thing with Kawhi Leonard. Clippers, first year Clippers cards that have a lot of value wrapped up in people thinking that they're going to win a title this year. To me, if one of those teams gets eliminated, that's going to be the stuff that falls the hardest. This is just my opinion. I don't know for sure, but I'm just guessing. And then you're stuck basically holding that stuff until the playoffs next season. And at this point, we don't know when next season starts. So I don't know if the hill I want to die on is a bunch of LeBron James 2019 Prism, Kawhi Leonard, Optic, whatever it is, first year jersey stuff, because that's a new fad. So I would start to move some of that stuff off. Maybe you don't move all of it, but if everyone moves on to the next round, fine. Start to sell off portions as the playoffs go on and lock in the profit that you've made. That way, if a surprise happens, like we don't know what's going to happen with the Clippers, um, Luca's going to get a few extra days rest. So is KP. Maybe they're both back, and who knows what's going on with that series. Maybe the Clippers don't even make it out of this round. I don't think that's likely, but it's on the table. It could happen. Lakers are definitely moving on, but I don't know. Me personally, I'm going to start looking to move off of the things that I think are tied up in that. My long term holds like Luca and Giannis and Tatum and stuff like that. I'm gonna ride out whatever happens. Whatever happens, happens. So those are my general thoughts on what the last day has meant and my thought processes, just kind of working through the last 24 hours and kind of playing out these various scenarios of, does the league not come back? If it doesn't, what do I want to sell right now? Even if I'm taking a hit on it because I just don't want the money tied up in something. Because if it goes belly up, God knows when it comes back. If they do not crown a champion, there's going to be CBA issues and the whole 9 yards, and the all next season would be in doubt of when it even starts. Now, we were lucky today, and Woj blew the white smoke out the window, and we crowned a pope, and we're good to go. But like I said, who knows what could happen tomorrow that could repop the bubble. And I don't mean the sports card bubble. I mean, the bubble games. But let's get into some charts. I may skip over some of these. That opening segment went a lot longer than I thought that it was going to. We're starting to get some data on guys that got pumped up during the bubble games and into the early playoffs and have exited. And I've mentioned these two players a bunch, but the two cards that we want to look at are Lillard, PSA 10, and Booker, PSA 10. So I went with the 90-day chart on this just so we could kind of see how these guys tracked here. Whoops. Just so we could see how these guys tracked here. So you can see they're actually pretty close together for a while. Lillard at 662 and Booker at 466, only $200 apart. Lillard spiked here. Then they both went along, and they both kind of spiked simultaneously. And this was in the middle of the bubble. Both these teams were on fire. Lillard was going crazy. Booker was going crazy. Spike, keep spiking. This right here is when the Suns almost got into the playoffs. It came down to the last day. You can see here where the Lillard basically willed them into the playoffs. This massive spike. And then, Booker gets eliminated. Goes down. Lillard plays really good. They win that first game. Then reality sets in. Little spike back up. And now free fall. And Booker is in. Well, we'll look at that in a second. So you could see they're almost back to the first spike level. In fact, Booker's exactly back to that. Late in the bubble games, he was at around $900, and right now he is back down again to $900. At his peak, he was at $1,500. Lillard is still a little high, but he's still falling. Remember, Lillard's timeline's pushed back a little bit because he got those couple extra games, and he looked really good against the Lakers. They won a game, so his chart's a little different. But you can see here his pre-peak was around 1,500, and right now he is back down to 1,660, and I could definitely see him getting back down to this $1,500 level. I don't think he gets all the way back down to here. Maybe he does. Let's look at the 7-day chart all right, let's look at the 14-day chart on these guys first. So this is the 14-day chart, and we can see down here over the last 14 days, which is essentially shortly after their peak, basically. I think their peak was the 8th. Let me rerun this real quick, guys. No, it was the 14th. Riveting television. There we go. So this is essentially from their peak to today. And we could see Lillard is down 45% and Booker is down 30%. That is a big sell-off. Now, we could see with Booker, if we look at the last 7 days, Booker has flattened. In fact, he's actually ticked back up again. But he's right around $850, $900. He's essentially flattened out. Whereas over the last 7, Lillard is still down 43%. And his really kicked in the last few days with him leaving the bubble with the knee surgery or the knee quote unquote injury. He was at 3,000 here. He dipped down to 2,500, spiked back up to 3K, and now he's down to 1,600. So the reason I like to keep talking about these two is because I think this is a good template spinning forward for these guys if they get bounced, or as guys get bounced, especially up and coming stars. I think we could use this as a template to project what's going to happen and use that as a point to maybe figure out the bottom. Booker basically came down 40%. Lillard's essentially down 40%. We'll see now if Lillard flattens out or keeps going. If he flattens out, then that'll be two bigger name stars that basically dropped 40% from their peak in the playoffs. And then maybe we could use that to predict how much, say, I don't know, like if the Celtics get eliminated next round, does Jaylen Brown's prices drop 40%? Maybe not, because he hasn't got that, he hasn't had those massive spikes. I think that might be the difference with these guys. These guys got huge spikes. But then the second they got eliminated, it immediately pulled back down. Now, you're still up over the gap if you bought in pre the spikes. But if you bought in during those spikes, you're in trouble. I mean, not in trouble, but you're in the red for sure. So let's look at another guy. And this is kind of getting more into, let's look at another guy first, then we'll get into the next thing. Michael Porter Jr., we've talked about him in a ton of different videos. His is doing the exact same thing. He was cruising along at around, 150-ish, got up to $200 because it was, found out that he was going to be starting bubble games, blew up for 3 straight games, and he went to the moon. This is his base PSA 10. Prism went from $200 to $500 almost overnight. It was a little bit longer than that, but he had just 3 amazing games. Then the playoffs start, and he looks like crap. And you could see he has now come all the way back down to 275. Now, that's still up from the pre-spike of 200. You're still up $75 on a PSA 10, which isn't bad, but that's a lot different than being up $300 on a PSA 10. So let's look at the last 7 days on him. And I don't believe he's leveled out yet. No, he is still trending down over the last 7. He's down 20%. So we'll see how much he keeps going. I think he probably levels off around 250. I do not think he gets all the way back to the pre-bubble pricing. And this one's a little tricky because he's still playing. And the Nuggets looked good, played really well in their last game. So we'll see if they can manage to pull off the comeback on the Jazz and move on to the next round, then his window is open to spike back up again. Unfortunately, at least for now, he's playing off the bench again. Malone doing Malone things, but his defense is pretty bad. So we'll see what happens. But at least as long as he's alive, he has the potential. If he still has games to play, he has the potential to spike. But I think we've seen, once again, these guys bubble and then come back to reality, but maybe don't come all the way back down. There's a new reality. It's not $500, but it's also not $200. It's, $250, $275. But we'll keep an eye on Porter and see where he levels out at. Just getting into some of the more interesting ones on guys that are going down that I don't think should be going down. Now this is a different story with Luca. Luca was trending down, and this was after they had won Game 2. Luca's stuff was trending down. Then he turned his ankle, and they started trending down more. This right here is the ankle turn, boop, and then this right here is the game winner, boop. uh, he spiked right back up again, but we see he had a nice little 3-day run there. But now look, I mean, they did not look good last game, but they also didn't have KP. But he's trending right back down again. He went right back to this pre-ankle roll, of 1800, dropped down to 1600, hit the game winner, spiked up to 1800, and now he's already back down to 1770 after he peaked at almost 1900 again. So, but he's definitely trending the wrong direction, and he's playing well. I mean, last game maybe not so much. He looked bad on the ankle, but they're still alive. They could easily, not easily, but they could win this round. And Luka's one of the all-time greats. But this just shows that some of these prices are definitely too inflated, and there's gonna be a pullback on them, regardless of how good they play. It seems like, because if we go on to the next player, let's look at Jason Tatum. Tatum played extremely well in round 1. He had like one bad game. He looked great. The Celtics looked great. They look like they could maybe not march to the Eastern Conference Finals, but could easily make the Eastern Conference Finals. In the last 7 days, he's down 15%. He's down $173 on a PSA 10. This one doesn't make sense to me. I get Luka a little bit because maybe he's going to exit the bubble. I understand why Booker and Lillard went down. I understand why MPJ went down. I don't understand why Luka went down because he rolled an ankle. That was stupid. That shows you how overreactionary the market is. A guy rolls an ankle, one of the best young players in the NBA, and his price drops $100 because he rolled an ankle. Now, I don't know if that was people just panic selling because they thought they were going to get bounced from the playoffs or what, but that was a joke. And then he immediately showed you why in the next game. But Tatum, I mean, Tatum should be the poster child of guys going up in value right now, and he's going down. To me, this shows that the entire, and like I said, I know there's guys going up still. Jamal Murray's skyrocketing, whatever. This to me shows the overinflated nature of the NBA markets. If Tatum stuff is coming down. So, and he's moving on. He should be a guy that's trending in the green, not the red. And I understand his PSA Prism price got over $1,000, but it's not that high of a pop count. It's only in the 3,000s. That's not much compared to like a Luka or a Zion. So it's not like the market's flooded with inventory on Tatum PSA 10 Prisms. I mean, you can go get one if you want one, but this one to me just baffled me, and so does the next one. The next one is Giannis, PSA 10 Prism. Okay. Sure, they had a bad game against the Magic, whatever, but then they've put it together basically since then. Some of those games have been a little closer than they're supposed to be. He's going to win the MVP. He just won Defensive Player of the Year. And what has his prices done in the last 7 days? Down 10%, 12%, almost 13%, down $800 on his PSA 10 Prism. From a high of 6,500 down to 5,700. And I've seen these posted on eBay, or not eBay, but some of the buy sell trade groups for lower than that. I saw one the other day, 5,500. I've seen some for 5,200. This is off eBay, so they can afford to sell it at that price, because when you're talking about 10% eBay fees on a $6,000 card, that's a big chunk of the budget. So you can work a lot better deal off eBay on these higher value cards. But Giannis is coming down. Like, he's about to get announced. I think the award nomination stuff is overblown, but he's about to be announced as MVP. They're moving on to the next round. They're going to play the Heat, and his stuff's trending down. That just doesn't make sense to me. We're going really long here. Sorry. But let's look at other sports. Patrick Mahomes. The prohibitive favorite to win the Super Bowl again this year, probably, if not the MVP, the best quarterback in the league, not even close. We are in the peak buying section of football. And don't get me wrong, a lot of football stuff is going up right now. A lot of football stuff. You know, a bunch of wide receivers are going up, quarterbacks are going up. But the two highest end quarterbacks in the markets are trending the opposite direction. Mahomes, the last 7 days, I think this is the last 7 days. Yeah, the last 7 days is down 7 to 8% on his two main cards, which is his Optic PSA 10 Prism and his Silver, because 2017 Prism didn't have base. They're all silver. You know, that's down 8% for $600. This is down almost 7% for almost $100. So he hasn't done anything. He hasn't gotten hurt. The Chiefs are still good. They haven't had any major injuries or anything. Him and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are going to tear up the league most likely. And this stuff's trending backwards while lower end stuff is trending up. It seems like the top tier, high end stuff in the market, there's a little bit of a sell off going on. I don't know why. I don't know if people are just like, I think this stuff's at its peak. Let's get out or whatever. But the highest of high end, not the highest of high end, but a lot of high end, what I would deem as core cards. If you ask me like what the three most important modern NBA cards are, it would be Luka Prism, Giannis Prism, and probably Tatum Prism of the modern stuff. I'm not even talking about like, you know, LeBron's Topps Chrome or anything like that, but stuff from the last 3 or 4 years, along with Zion and Ja. Now, interesting thing, I did pull up a Zion on Ja chart. I didn't want to show it here because I feel like we talk about them all the time. But the last 7 days or so, they have basically leveled out. 14-day chart, they're going down. The last 7, they've essentially flattened. Ja's actually seen a slight uptick. But we talked about the quarterbacks. Let's look at Lamar Jackson. He had a massive run up recently, about a month ago or so. We talked about it on one of the football videos. And the last 7 days, he's down 30%, down almost $1,000. Let's look at his 90-day chart. You know, here, trending up. Nothing too crazy. Nice little spike right here over a couple of days. Keeps trending up. And then right here, it hits a peak of almost $3,800. And now it's down to almost $2,600. That's a big change. When was that peak? 8, 9. So let's look at 8, 9 to today. So from his peak card price, yeah, he's down 30%, $1,000. Yeah, so basically about 2 weeks back. What's happened with Lamar Jackson? Nothing. So, like I said, I don't know if it's the dreaded market manipulation going on where people pump these cards up and then they're now selling out of them at massive profits because they bought pre-pump or whatever, or if it's just a general trend in the market, or is it because, you know, the unemployment bonus and the stimulus checks and stuff went away, and we're, as of right now, there's not plans to bring that back. It's in talks still, but who the hell knows what's going on with that. That was a lot of extra money flowing into the market. Even if it's not at the high end, it's propping up the lower end, which fuels the high end. So there's just some weird things going on at the top end of the market on this ultra modern stuff. And to be honest with you, it's probably a little combination of everything. The stimulus checks have run out. You know, unemployment's at an all-time high. You know, people are hearing stuff about the economy maybe being propped up and trying to get out. Could be some market manipulation going on. It could just be people saying, hey, you know what? I got into this Lamar Jackson for $750 6 months ago, and now it's at, you know, over $3,000. I think it's time to cash out. Whatever the case might be, it all seems to be happening at around the same time. And maybe this is just a blip and then it bounces right back again. The other one, now I almost hate to even show this chart because, full disclosure, I don't know a thing about soccer other than you hit a ball into a net. Messi could walk in here right now and I would not know who he is. But this is the popular price movement by player chart. So this is all the players and whatever cards are in market movers, and I sorted by number of sales. So Mbappe's on top with 195 sales on his 27 cards. over the last 7 days. Look at the percentage change column. Red, 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 green. Let's move down. Next set of players. Red, 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 green, red, 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 red. Look at all the red. Green, green. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 guys are in green on this chart of about 30 players. I don't know the soccer market well enough to even speculate on this. I know the soccer market is extremely hot, but I just don't have the soccer knowledge to comment on this other than I'm just putting it in context with all the other stuff. So maybe it means nothing. Maybe it means something. I have no idea. I just don't know the soccer market well enough. It's the biggest hole in my game besides hockey, and I have no interest in soccer and little interest in hockey, and I only dabble in what I know. So I'm not going to dive into something that I don't know. But as I was clicking through the different sports, I was just curious what the soccer market was doing compared to the other stuff. And maybe there's a reason for this. If you're a soccer expert and you're like, oh, well, duh, this is normal because of X, Y, and Z. This is their off season or whatever. It very well could be. I have no clue. I just know, what I'm seeing here on the charts. So that's all I have for you guys today. I will get you guys out of here on that. Good luck out there. Come up with a plan. Get your stuff in order. Don't be left with your pants down if an NBA season gets canceled. Sure, you're going to lose a little bit, but it should not be. When you heard that news, if you panicked, you need to relook at what you're doing and rejigger, reorganize, revamp. Look at your plan. If your immediate thought was, how am I going to pay this credit card bill or X, Y, or Z thing? If that was your first thought when you heard that the season might get canceled, you've been given a gift and you have time to correct the error of your ways. So, but anyways, I'm out of here, guys.